But today, I'm gonna tell you guys my high school recruiting story. You always hear that junior year, that's the important year for recruiting, for getting offers, and I was not playing at all. But that game, I did not play a single snap. Like, I remember after the game, I literally got in the car with my pops. I just kind of broke down crying. We gotta go through senior year. I just got a ball, like no ifs, ands, buts about it. So we're going through camp, and I'm one of the starting receivers. I finally worked my way up to a starting role, and he's like, yeah, you probably tore your labrum. So I'm sitting there like, damn, bro. But I'm kind of feeling my shoulder out, doing a bunch of stuff. And I'm like, I can move it around. Like, it's uncomfortable, but it's not to the point where I can't play on it. So he was like, you have an option. You can either get surgery right now, or you can wait till after the season, but it might make it worse. So I was like, well, if I get surgery, I'll be out for like 6-7 months. Can't do that. So looks like we're playing our senior year with a torn labrum. So we get to the first game against St. Joe's Montvale, and this is my first varsity start, first really time playing meaningful varsity snaps. And what's crazy is I wasn't even nervous. I was like, yo, I'm ready to go. Like, I've been busting dudes' ass all off season. I know I'm a player that belongs on this field. But that game, I literally had my best receiving game of my life. I had 8 catches, 120 some yards. Like, I proved to everyone that, yo, I'm a dude that can ball. But the year goes on. I was having a good year. I led the team in yards, led the team in receptions, and slowly but surely, college coaches started coming in to visit with me. And at first, there was a lot of D2, D3 schools, and I was like, if I have to go to find a good D3 program, it's like, okay, I can do that. But it's not what I wanted, but I was like, okay, I'm fine with that. So we get to the end of the season, and by this point, my shoulder is fucked up. Like, by the time we were in the playoffs, I could barely lift it above my head, and being a receiver, it's kind of a problem. But we get to the playoffs, and in the semifinals, we played Bergen Catholic, our biggest rival. And I played maybe the worst half of football I've ever played in the first half of that game. Like, I had 3 drops, missed a bunch of blocks. Like, it was just all bad. I remember being at halftime, I'm like, yo, my shoulder's really hurting. Maybe I should just kind of tell the coaches it's not working right now. I can't go out. But I was like, yo, I did not come this far just to come this far. Like, I didn't go through all I went through, all the adversity I've been through, just to kind of bitch up in the moment just because I wasn't playing well. So I was like, you know what, we're gonna lock back in. We're gonna find a way to make things work in the second half. And in the second half, mainly the fourth quarter, I had probably 2 of the biggest catches of the game on third downs that led us to a touchdown, which was ultimately the difference in us winning the game. So I went on to the state championship, won that, the first one Bosco won in like 3 years. But at that point, the season was over. Like, I was done playing at Don Bosco. That was my last game. And this is also before the early signing day, so colleges were coming in, trying to do a little bit last minute recruiting until the February signing day. And so at this point, I'm just kind of waiting and hoping that something will happen. So a bunch of coaches came in. I met with a bunch of like FCS D2 coaches, and basically what it boiled down to was a lot of them said that they had already offered all their spots for this current year, but they thought I was definitely someone who could play at that level. And it was starting to get frustrating, starting to get a little discouraging. But I remember one of the coaches that visited, he said, it's a real shame that this is your senior year, because if you were coming off your junior year, you're definitely someone we would have offered. So that's when it kind of put the idea in my head, maybe I should take a postgrad year. So for those of you that don't know, a postgrad year is pretty much just another year of high school. So instead of that year being my senior year, it was basically going to be my junior year with me having another season of high school football left to play. So I talked to my parents about it, and they felt like it was a good idea too, especially since I was already so young that it would kind of put me back on track in terms of age with everyone else. So I started looking around, trying to find just a school to go to for the next year. And I stumbled on Choate, and I noticed that, they got like a really good football program. They sent a lot of dudes to D1 schools. I was like, let me explore this more. So I filled out like a little prospective recruiting form, and a couple days later, Coach Benato got back to me, and he was like, yeah, watch your film, loved it, love your grades, love the rigorous academics you came from, because that's something that Choate's known for, their academics. So he was like, yeah, we want to set up a visit with you to get this process rolling. So I get a visit scheduled for like mid-January. And what's actually funny is the day I visited Choate was, I want to say, 2 days before my shoulder surgery, because remember, my shoulder was still jacked up. So like at the end of my time at Choate, Coach Spin actually, he told me, he was like, yo, what's crazy is I thought you were like gonna be this quiet guy because of your visit. And I was like, nah, really, like my shoulder was just in burning pain, and I didn't want to like make you guys aware of the fact that I was coming in as broken goods. So I was trying to like just stay chill, stay quiet. But you know, that was funny. But so going to visit, things went well. He loved me, loved my film, and he was like, yo, all right, we want to move along with the process. Like, you're one of the guys we want to really target. Once I heard that, I was like, all right, well, looks like I'm doing a postgrad year. So told all the colleges who I was talking to and email colleges that I wanted to talk to. I was like, yo, I'm doing a postgrad year. Last year was basically my junior year. I'm reclassing. So like I'm basically going into my senior year. So you guys need to start recruiting me like that. So I went through the whole admissions process with Cho, did the application, all that stuff. And then the decision day finally came. So there was like a little portal you had to go to. So I clicked the email, clicked the link, went to the portal, and it said I was waitlisted. Now, I'll be completely honest, like the football program, that's what really got me looking at Choate. But at Bosco, it was all boys, and there was also a strict dress code. I saw that Choate was co-ed and had no dress code. So, you know, a little 16, 17-year-old Hunter, he was like, I ain't gonna lie, like I need to be around girls right now. But yeah, Choate was the only prep school I applied to. Now looking back, probably not the most sound decisions I've made in my life, but yeah, you know, I'm not one for really doing plan Bs, doing, you know, backup plans. So I was like, yo, I might be screwed right now. So I called Spin right away. I'm like, yo, like what happened? You said I was good. And he was like, yeah, I'm not sure what it was. Like let me go check with admissions and all that. But this time he's like, yo, what other schools did you apply to? And I'm like, I ain't gonna hold you. I ain't really applied to any other schools. Like I thought this was a done deal. So he started sending me like some the emails to some of the other coaches who he's cool with, he's friends with. And I started emailing them a little bit, started talking to him. It wasn't really like I'm gonna like take visits and all that stuff. I was like, all right, you know, it didn't say denied, it said waitlisted. So let's sit back, see what happens. So eventually I hear back from admissions. There was like some little hiccup with something I checked off on or something like that. But they were like, all right, you know, you're fix that. It was like, all right, you're all good to go. You're gonna be attending Choate next year. Now by this point, my shoulder was pretty much healed up. I was doing the end of my rehab, and you know, I kind of regained most of its strength back. And at that point, it was time to start camp season. So now, as opposed to being kind of someone who was going through camps with no prior film, no interest from any coaches, now it's like, all right, I got film, and it's film against one of the toughest schedules in the country. I got interest from coaches. I was, you know, kind of walking around with my chest puffed out. Like, it wasn't a phrase at the time, but it was like, yo, I'm him. But the one issue I still had was my 40 time was still a little lacking. And like, what's crazy is this is literally just like kind of a super huge coincidence. But I was at the field with my mom one day, 'cause she used to run track. So we were going over starts, and there's this guy here. He was kind of working starts with someone else on the other side of the field. And he saw me, and he walked over and just gave me a few pointers. I was like, oh, you know, appreciate it. And he was like, yeah, I do speed stuff here, Floods Hill. So if you're ever trying to get some work in, just here's my number, let me know. So take it down. And I'm like, you know what? This guy is just willing to come to the other side of the field, go out his way to help me out. Let me explore him. So his name was Fabian Thorne. He still works dudes out in South Orange, Essex County. So if you're there, definitely tap in with him. But yeah, no, he did a whole bunch of stuff, kind of changed my running form almost, and it brought me from running in the mid 4.6s to in the mid to high 4.5s, which still is not a burner, but that's like, okay, you know, that's a speed where, you know, you can make things happen. So I had another camp season where I did extremely well, and then it was time to get to the season. So like I said before, at Bosco, I only played receiver. I was the punt returner at the end of my senior year, but that was just because I was sure-handed more so than I was a dynamic athlete. But once I got to Choate, it was kind of like, okay, wait, he's kind of more explosive than he looked on film the year before. So they put me a kick returner, but they also had me play corner too. Now I didn't love corner the way I loved receiver, but it was like, all right, I'm trying to help the team win. So if me playing both sides of the ball can do that, I guess I'll do it. But in my head, it was like, yo, I'm still a receiver. I'm just on defense because I have to be. So we go through camp. I'm starting at both receiver and corner, starting at kick returner, punt returner. Like I was like the dynamic athlete of the team. First game comes and we're playing Cheshire Academy. Now Cheshire at the time had a couple 4-stars, some All-Americans. So this is viewed as a big game. And Cho also hadn't lost a game in like 3-4 years. So it was like, yo, this might be the first time that the Cho dynasty crumbles. I'm like, yo, I do not care. I'm walking around my chest out this time. I was the leading receiver on the best team in the hardest conference in the country. So I was like, I don't care who they are. Like, if I step on the field with them, I'm going to be better than them. And that day, I was 100% better. I had a kickoff return for a touchdown, an interception, a couple pass breakups on some of the All-American receivers. And that was like the point in time when I was like, I was like, yo, I can play Division I football. I can play Division I football, not just at an FCS school, but I can play at a G5, if not P5 school. Like, I'm good enough to be on the field with these guys. So the next week after that game, Spin calls me into his office. He's like, I have a coach on the phone for you. And I answer it, and I'm like, hello? And it was Don Brown, the defensive coordinator at Michigan. And I'm like, oh shit. Like, I took this postgrad year expecting to get some Ivy League offers, to get a couple Patriot League offers. Like, Michigan, you guys are ranked in the top 5 right now. Like, holy shit. And he's basically like, I saw the film of you against Cheshire. I really liked what I saw out of you as an athlete, as a football player. I think you're someone who, as a preferred walk-on, can come in here and with some training and some development, really do things down the road. So I hear that, I'm like, whoa, like this completely changes things. Like, what I came in here expecting isn't necessarily what I found, but it's like, okay, if he thinks that of me, I should be thinking that of myself. So as we're going through the year, I'm starting to turn into a lockdown corner. Like, even though I hadn't really played it, I was just using my newfound athleticism to kind of freestyle on the field, and it was working. I was seeing great results. And at this time, I'm starting to receive even more interest from P5 schools as a preferred walk-on. So I remember Northwestern, Virginia, those were 2 schools that really started contacting me. And in my head, it was kind of like, okay, now I have a decision to make. Do I go to a P5 school as a walk-on, or do I go to an Ivy League school where I can be one of the guys off rip? So fast forward to the end of the season, we won the championship. I was named all conference, but that thought of, okay, do I go be a walk-on or do I go be a guy immediately? That was kind of like a lingering question I had in the back of my head. And like, it got to the point where literally every other day I was switching my mind about what I wanted to do. So some days it was like, let me go to an Ivy League school. Other days it was, let me go P5 and kind of bet on myself. And I think there were a couple of things that really did it. One of them was a couple of the Ivy League schools wanted me to take the SAT again. And like, I was not a bad student at all. Like, I was a good student. I had a 3.95 GPA at Bosco. I got all A's and B pluses at Choate. My SAT was in like the 93rd, 94th percentile. So like, in my head, I'm like, yo, if that's not good enough, like, I don't really love school enough to do all that. Another thing that kind of soured me on the Ivy League schools was I wanted to visit once, and I talked to some of the guys, and they just didn't all seem like they were really in love with football. Like, it was more football something they're doing to get them to an Ivy League school to put them in position for the rest of their life. And that's fine. I'm not knocking anyone that wants that, but in my head, it was like, yo, like, I'm trying to be around people who are super locked into football, like almost like football is their life. And so I didn't feel that at Ivy League schools. I didn't feel like football was really an emphasis. I felt like it was more of a secondary thing. Like, it was more viewed as a hobby than a lifestyle. And the third thing was, I was talking to the UPenn coaches, and he just said that they kind of felt like, from how I conducted myself, how I carried myself, the confidence that they could tell I had in myself, that it just felt like I was someone who really, truly, deep down wanted to bet on myself and walk on and go that route as opposed to an Ivy League school. And I think when I heard it out loud for really the first time, that's when it really struck me that, he's kind of right. Like that, like betting on myself is something that I've done in the past and it's worked out. So it's just something that is in my nature to want to do. So once I heard that, I was like, in my mind, I think I'm going to go the preferred walk-on route. So at the time, I was really heavily talking to two schools, and it was Michigan and Northwestern. So Michigan, they were the first school to reach out about being a preferred walk-on, but I'd say Northwestern was the one that was reaching out the most consistently during the season. And I was talking to the recruiting guys, and I was getting a really good vibe from them. So once conversations started picking up, they discussed to me about taking a visit out there to see the coaches, see the facility, just kind of see the team, the players, and everything. So when schools are recruiting you as a preferred walk-on, you can't go on an official visit. So they can't pay for your hotel, pay for your flight, and all that stuff. But they were like, we still want you here to see everything. We're still really interested in you. So as long as you pay for the flight and your lodging, you're good. You can go on the visit here. So I was talking to my parents. They were like, yeah, let's go visit Northwestern. So I flew to Chicago, spent a weekend there, and I loved it. Like the players, the coaches, the facility loved it all. The academic side of things, Northwestern is one of the best schools in the country. So I was like, if I go here, this is going to be a really, really good decision for the rest of my life. Like it'll not a 4-year decision, it's a 40-year decision, as they always say. And I felt like that would be a great 40-year decision. And then too, in talking with the corners coach, he was like, I've seen your film. I think you're someone who, with a little bit of development, you can be a guy who ends up earning a scholarship and playing here. And that was music to my ears. So get back from Northwestern, and I'm like, I'm damn near like ready to tell him I'm going there. But the week after that, I had a similar thing scheduled with the University of Michigan. And so in my head, I'm starting to think, it's just gonna be kind of like a formality. Like I'll just go there, maybe party in Ann Arbor. Like it'll be a good time. So it was actually the next weekend, but I fly out to Michigan, and they had like a preferred walk-on day. So a bunch of guys that were looking at as walk-ons were out there. So met with them, talked with some of them, and then had meetings with the coaches and everything like that. And Don Brown kind of echoed what he said to me back during the season, which was, you're someone who's pretty raw on defense right now, but I think with coaching and with physical development in our strength and conditioning program, you're someone who I think down the road has a real opportunity to make an impact. So once the visit ended, I got an invite from Jess Spate, who I didn't really know at the time, but he's still my boy to this day. But I got an invite from him because his parents had a condo in Ann Arbor. So he invited me and some of the other guys to go there and kind of just hang out for a little bit, to just talk, get to know each other a little more. So I'm there, and the starting quarterback of Michigan at the time, Jess's brother, Wilton Spate, he was also there. So I was talking to him a little bit about Michigan, what they go through, kind of just, general questions. And I remember he asked me, he was like, what other schools are you looking at? And I was like, I'm looking at Michigan. It's really between Michigan and Northwestern. And he was like, here at Michigan, we're competing for Big Ten championships, national championships. Northwestern, they're competing to make a bowl game. Like, which one do you really want for yourself? Like, do you want to, strive for just 6-6, or do you want to strive for greatness? Funny aside, Northwestern actually went to more Big Ten championships in my time at Michigan than Michigan did. So, it's pretty ironic. But no, I heard that, and kind of got my gears in my brain turning. So I remember right before we left Ann Arbor to go back to the airport, we actually stopped at a bookstore, and I picked up a hat. And I was like, let me just pick up a hat just in case I decide I want to go to Michigan. That way, on signing day, I have a hat to wear. And I didn't know this, but my dad said as soon as I said that, he was like, I could tell he's gonna decide to go to Michigan. So I get back to the choke. I'm talking to my parents, talking to my coaches, and the big thought I had was, if I go to Michigan and never play, I know I'll have given it my all, and I can live with that. If I go to Northwestern and play, or really anywhere else and play, will I have the thought in my mind of, what if I went to Michigan and played? And it just really started hitting me that I kind of felt like I would not be betting on myself fully if I went anywhere but Michigan. And like I said before, I'm someone who is completely confident, willing to bet on myself. So it was like, you know, the odds might be stacked against me. It might be something most people wouldn't choose to do, something most people couldn't do, but I truly feel like I'm someone that is able to do this. Oh yeah, and a big thing with Choate is they're like kind of a feeder program for Yale, so guys who need to get their SAT scores up, they usually send them to Choate to get them ready to get to Yale. So the Yale coach visited probably like 4 days before signing day, and as a preferred walk-on, you don't really have to sign on signing day. You just have to, like, you just tell the coaches kind of whenever between when the season starts and like you have the preferred walk-on offer. But I felt like I had earned the right to partake in all the signing day ceremonies. So I told them, I was like, yo, I kind of already have a decision made, but like I'm ready to kind of publicly announce it on signing day. If you guys, like, if you don't have anything kind of offered to me by then there's really no point in this conversation. He was like, oh, well, do you really want to go to Michigan, just sit on the bench your entire time there, never play, be just the guy who's a practice dummy? And I think that's when, like, in my head, it was like, all right, well, fuck this guy. Like, I'm going to go to Michigan. I'm going to play. So that signing day, decided to go to Michigan. And yeah, pretty much from there, you guys know the story of how my career at Michigan went. I'd say it was a successful one. So that is the long journey of what led me to basically being a preferred walk-on at Michigan, from not even playing on varsity as a junior to walking on at Michigan to transferring to Utah State to becoming an All-American. I mean, yo, football has literally never been something that has come without adversity for me in my life. But, you know, I feel like I'm a better person for it. I feel like it's taught me things like perseverance, like overcoming adversity that, you know, just regular life wouldn't teach you. So that's kind of, you guys kind of know the full story on me at this point. But I'm looking at the timestamp right now, and this is going to be a very long video. But no, if you made it this far, I appreciate you. If you like what you've seen, hey, like and subscribe. Yo, man, got more videos on the way. Just keep watching, keep tuning in, keep showing love. I'm gonna catch you with the next one.